Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 5 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Before we start that, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. Alright, on to the stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Fire Ice 1992, having a coup at work. I read a thing on here earlier and it reminded me of my favorite malicious compliance I had the pleasure of being a part of. About 10 years or so ago, my father helped me get hired at the manufacturing company he worked at. I worked hard and instantly joined the union they had. After working there a few years, I was working as an operator and I knew the machines we had and was learning how to repair and maintain them as well. The company loved to make operators work a lot of hours. 60+ hour weeks, but we managed and the unions got us double time after 60 and anytime on a Sunday. The only caveat was we were allowed 1 weekend a month that we did not need to work and we all usually agreed on the weekend or drew lots. 1 month we were crazy busy. Every machine operator was working 7 days a week, at least 12 hours a day, and we felt it. We came to the last weekend and assumed that meant no work and a much needed break, until the plant manager posted that we all had mandatory overtime again. We demanded our reps sort it and ended up having an all hands meeting. The plant manager screamed and told us we were all lazy and with what we make we should be begging to work more, and our union reps slapped down the contract with that part highlighted. The plant manager said, "Let me make it easy for you louses. Any machine operator that is not here this weekend better find a new job." We all looked at each other and nodded, confirmed the rep had heard that, and went back to our machines. That following Monday, we agreed to turn them off or ignore all their calls for the weekend. Our phones exploded. Apparently, the union already started on them for wrongful termination and violation of the contract. Then we all said, "Per our meeting, you fired me, so no, I am not coming in." Funny enough, we were rehired with higher pay, and the union demanded an amendment to the contract that limited work weeks to 6 days, up to 70 hours a week. Topping off all of it, we came back that Thursday to a party announcing our new plant managers because they fired all of upper management and brought in a whole new team. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called particularcar8520. It says, "That's not malicious compliance, that's malicious destruction of a terrible system. You and your crew are awesome, and the fact that everyone was in makes this the most malicious compliance I have seen in this sub. Congrats." Another commenter down below called Slightly Buttholic said, "This highlights something that can and does happen when one is dealing with a highly skilled workforce with highly marketable skill set. Someone with marketable skills can find a new job very quickly, and if they have been in their trade for any time at all, they know exactly where they can get it. The employer needs those people a lot more than those people need the specific employer. This creates a potential situation that I like to call collective quitting. It isn't collective bargaining. You aren't saying that you will stop working for a little while or slow down production. There won't be picketing or any form of demonstration. People just quit, permanently, and en masse. It's like a run on the bank. I've seen companies get hollowed out within a day, and it's not a strike. Those workers aren't coming back. They are just gone. They will likely have a new job before the end of the week if they didn't arrange for one the day they walked out. There is also the sudden bleed out. A few of these skilled people leave for another employer who probably has multiple openings. The first worker who leaves calls his friends, informing of the deal he got and how many other slots they have to fill. And once again, they aren't coming back. The OP could probably make good on the threat if this coup didn't work. He could probably find a new job before he ran into any real problems, especially since it was an actual dismissal and he could file for unemployment in the US. Does anybody else think, hey, that union rep is sitting back looking at everybody and going, ha 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 ha, management effed around and found out? This story is literally showing us what unions are for, what contracts are for, and why you don't F with the union in the first place. This story comes to us from HBP Frost. "You hate my clothes? Have fun wearing them. Growing up, I've always liked Germany and Japan, especially the cars. My favorites are Porsche and Lexus, and my mom's ex-husband wasn't into cars. He hated just about every piece of clothing I owned. I have mostly Adidas stuff and a few shirts and hoodies with Porsches and Lexuses on them. So one day, when I'm getting ready for my first day of school after the pandemic, Mom's ex-husband, who I'll call Keith, not his real name, but his actual name is so bad it might as well be Keith, stops me and looks at me dead serious and says, "I want you to take off those raggedy pieces of crap and throw them in the trash, along with any clothes you have in the washer." I looked at him, laughed, and walked out the door. I thought I looked pretty good that day, and it made me really happy seeing my friends really hadn't changed since March. Then, when I got home, Keith was stuffing all of the clothes from the washer into a trash bag. I asked what he was doing, and he said, "I'm tired of you trying to present as rich. Take this bag out to the trash and don't take anything out of it." I looked at him and I kept repeating how he can't be serious. He said he was dead serious and went into my parents' room. I decided to see how much of my clothes I was going to lose, and to my surprise, it was just some socks, a pair of jeans, and 2 shirts. I was about to take them out when I noticed Keith threw his clothes in there too. He's a stereotypical stepdad and doesn't do anything, so there's no way he would have known my mom washed his clothes with mine. Then I took a moment to check some receipts in my room to see how much I'd be set back if I actually put this bag in the trash, and I figured out it'd be around $40, not much of an issue there. So this is when the malicious compliance kicks in. I took the bag to the trash can and set it at the end of the driveway for trash day tomorrow. It comes at 6. So imagine Keith's surprise when he gets up at 6 to find that he has no clean work shirts, no clean socks, and no clean pants. It made him absolutely livid, and he quite literally yanked me out of bed to scream at me. He pinned me to the wall and yelled about how his clothes were missing, and I told him, "Your clothes were in that bag, and had you been paying attention, you wouldn't be in this situation." He just got up and walked away, struggling to find anything to wear. He eventually came back and very calmly asked to borrow a shirt and pants from me, along with socks and a sweatshirt. I then proceeded to hand him each of the clothes he asked, but they were ones I didn't like and didn't wear often. He spent the whole day posting on Facebook and Instagram about how bad he looked, and it was so funny that I couldn't put my phone down. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Suspicious Turnip 77. It says, "Wait, tops with pictures of cars on them or Adidas branded clothing is presenting as rich?" Laugh out loud. Keith needs to pull his head in. OP responded to this one and said, "Oh, it gets even more stupid. When I first was learning how to drive, he would tell me in between screaming and trying to hit me that I'll never own a nice car like a Kia or a Dodge. He drove a Dodge and would complain how they are the worst luxury brand America has to offer." I'm actually really surprised that OP didn't take their clothes out of the bag and hide them somewhere and put out the ex-husband's clothes just all on their own, because it would still look like stuff was in the bag and he wouldn't know any different. There was another commenter that asked OP if the ex-husband had ever been charged for slamming OP up against the wall, and OP said no, but he doesn't really care because the ex-husband is living a life right now where he's getting exactly what he deserves anyway. This story comes to us from Ancient Educator 76. "You better pay for my son's phone." "Sure thing, I'll send you a bill." Today marks the beginning of a new era. An era where the school district stands up for itself and thumbs its nose to the 1%. Today's malicious compliance is really a continuation of an original malicious compliance from 2 days ago, where a student demanded I let go of their phone. So I let go and let both his phone and a school window get damaged. Originally, administration was letting the parents know there is no way that they will be paying the parents for a replacement phone in this instance. A security guard and 34 other students witnessed this kid take his phone aggressively out of the teacher's hand and subsequently launch it across the room. It was 100% the student's fault. Administration was willing to drop it and move on, hoping that the family of the student would do the same. This was definitely not the case. The parents of the phone thrower demanded that the teacher, me, OP, pay for this phone, saying, "You better pay for my son's phone." This is when admin of my middle school with district backing performed the best malicious compliance I've seen in a bit. I'm proud to be at my school district today. The district has come to the conclusion, after investigating the incident, getting statements from students, witnesses, me, security, etc., that it was the student's fault that the phone flew in the air. The district agreed, however, to pay for the student's phone as it was technically in a teacher's possession when it got damaged. It was an iPhone 12, so the check was probably around the area of $800. Then, administration did them one better by also sending the parents a bill for the window to the tune of $1,678. It wasn't a typical window, nor is it easy to replace. Once the teacher let go of the phone, it was in the student's possession, so now it's the student's fault. I'm not sure if this is the argument they made, but I'm presuming this is their justification for it. Doing some quick math, it looks like they're paying $800 something either way. Plus, the student is in ISS for destruction of school property. I don't know, I think the phone was in the teacher's possession, but it was only broken as a direct result of the student's actions. Same thing with the window. The teacher had absolutely nothing to do with the phone being broken or the window being broken, and thus, the school shouldn't be responsible for either. If the school really is required to compromise though, I think they should send them a bill for the window and just take a credit off for the current value for replacement of an iPhone 12. We're talking $280 to $330. This story comes to us from Lance Adams v. CISO. Return to office and dress code. I work in IT for a manufacturer, a global organization with offices in more countries than not in countries, 30,000 employees globally. Our really good CIO, who was technical enough to get it and smart enough to realize that a global organization needs global people from all areas with wide ranges of skills, he retired abruptly. He led us very well through the uncharted COVID waters, and we did well. His replacement was named and was a high-level financial guy about 2 years ago. Many of us knew what this meant. There are some very accurate memes and colloquialisms about finance guys destroying IT. Just around his 1-year anniversary, he announced that we must return to the office and use the same emotional appeals about collaboration and missing something with remote work as the other brain-dead executives around the globe. After a couple of weeks of enforced 2 core days a week for only the office he worked at and the other corporate office in the neighboring city, we're a set of mergers and acquisitions with multiple key offices. Anyway, after a couple of weeks of this return to office, email was sent about dress code, clean jeans. It would be best to wear company branded shirts or polos. After all, IT is on the same floor as the executives, and he's not going to look good bending the knee if us serfs are dressed in t-shirts. Comments were made on the side by middle management on how this would reflect poorly on reviews and merits. The malicious compliance part. I decided to purchase a 4-pack of high-vis polo shirts, bright yellow, bright orange, teal green, and gray, each with reflective striping. For the last year, I have worn these shirts every core day. We are, after all, a manufacturer. Our corporate office is attached to a manufacturing building, where high-vis is required, along with hard hats, hearing protection, safety boots. We take our safety seriously, and I applaud that. Today, my manager let me know that both the CIO and the senior director that I report into, after a few layers of yes people, have commented that my shirts are not liked. My manager said that it's totally up to me what I do, but he strongly recommends picking my battles and not wearing those shirts anymore. So I leave with this. I'm writing up an ethics complaint now, but what should I wear next week's core days? I'm thinking about showing up in my suit and nod to those 2 cowards who can't even say something to me directly. Thoughts? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called CoffeeTulu42. It says, my suggestion? keep wearing the same high-vis polos, and file a complaint with HR that, as an IT worker in a space attached to a manufacturing plant requiring safety gear, you have done your best at your own personal cost to ensure work-appropriate attire that also meets safety standards, and you're now being singled out by members of leadership with implied threats to your performance evaluations because you are prioritizing work-related professionalism over irrelevant appearances while fully conforming to the workplace dress code to which you are now subject since the cancellation of work from home. Get the paper trail going and find a good employment lawyer for the inevitable retaliation lawsuit. While you're at it, check to see if you are in a one-party consent to record state. If so, get a pocket voice recorder so you can get evidence of any future conversations about your attire. OP responded to this one and said, "Found the player. I've thought of several of your suggestions already and noted down the others. Hat tip." I don't know, OP. I think it's time to pull out the top hat and tails, complete with a walking stick. Extra points if you're dressing better than the executive team and people think that you're higher up than them. This story comes to us from Sacred Fruit 8486. Entitled Mother Tells My Mom to Handle Her Kids. I posted this in r/entitled parents, but someone commented that it counted as malicious compliance too. So I'm posting it here as well. My 17 female, mom 41 female, took me out to get makeup the other day for a friend whose birthday is coming up. We entered the store and all was going really well. I was checking out concealers while my mom was on the other side of the shop looking through various shades of lipsticks. Enter entitled mother, late 20s, female with her devil spawn. I say devil spawn because her kids were misbehaving wildly, and she didn't bother even once to tell them to stop or something. Not even a minor rebuke. I say devil spawn because that about sums these two kids up. They were running wild around the shop, throwing testers around and being a general nuisance. My mom stepped in when the kids started poking their slimy little fingers into the lipstick testers. I get it, they're just testers, but ew. People are likely going to use those to decide whether they like the shade or not, and God knows where those fingers have been. Like, one of them was legitimately picking his nose minutes ago. My mom, having 4 kids of her own, looked around to find their parent. Entitled mother was the only one in the shop besides us. My mom called out to her, and this is how the conversation went. "Excuse me, are these kids yours?" I know, very obvious, but my mom is a very polite person, so it's not odd to me. "Yeah. Can you please tell them to stop touching the testers? They're not toys." "If it's such a problem, why don't you handle them?" Oh boy. My mom left the shop for a few minutes and signaled me to not follow her. She came back with 2 buff security guards in tow. The kids were still poking their fingers in the testers. The guards walked up to the kids, and in the deepest baritone ever, one asked, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" The kids looked terrified and cue the waterworks. Entitled mother immediately stormed over and began reprimanding the guards for scaring her poor little angels. She then saw my mom nearby. "You did this!" At this point, she was practically hissing like a cat. "How dare you teach me how to parent?" Mom, in an eerie monotone, "You told me to handle them, hence I handled them." She screamed more obscenities at my mom, the guards, anything around really, but the guards weren't having it and told her to leave. She created quite a scene, but thank everything that is holy, she left. My mom had quite the story to tell at dinner, a rather comedic encounter with an entitled parent. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Esther Clemens. It says, "Ask and you shall receive, laugh out loud. Wish that entitled mother would have learned something, but I doubt it." OP responded and said, "The lore narrates she's still telling anyone with ears not to comment on her parenting skills." I feel like OP might have missed an opportunity here when the mother wasn't really responding to what OP was trying to say. OP should have looked at the kids again and said, "Yeah, those things are actually for drawing on your clothes. You know, right on your shirt and on your pants. You can make beautiful pictures with them." Honestly though, respect to OP's mom because going and getting the security guards was probably the best option in this case. Did you know every single KCC video is uploaded in podcast form as well? Search for Karma Comment Chameleon Podcast on every major podcasting platform. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.